In the streets, there are some rules that everyone knows you just don't break.
Other rappers though, like from the city, on the stage where I'm at, like they don't be here no more.
No f***ing tombstone, get dirt up. Hey yo, where the f*** Carney at, yo? Carney, where the f*** right?
But when YBC Dull decided to grab a shovel and dig up his rival's grave on camera, everything changed. This wasn't just crossing the line. This was wiping the line off the map. From wild shootouts near funerals to rappers turning graveyards into their personal stages, the level of disrespect hit a whole new level.
No f***ing tombstone, get dirt up. Hey yo, where the f*** Carney at, yo? Carney, where the f*** right?
Now let's talk about how deep this madness goes. If what allegedly happened with Vaughn was already seen as one of the craziest acts of funeral disrespect, then what Philly rapper YBC Dull did might be even more twisted. Not because it was loud or violent, but because it was planned out and cold-hearted. This wasn't some moment of rage caught in the chaos. This was straight-up strategy. YBC Dull, real name Abdul Vix, didn't just earn the nickname Mr. Disrespect for no reason. He ran with the young bag chasers out of West Philly, and their name stayed in drama with plenty of other crews. But Dull wasn't the type to stop after winning a fight. No, he wanted his enemies to feel humiliated even long after they were gone. He turned beef into a full-blown show.
Man, I ain't gonna lie, on some real, I ain't that good. I'm alright.
What's bad?
I just lost my little brother yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
How old?
He's 20.
What happened?
I'm 24, but he was in a car accident.
For real?
Then came February 2024, the moment that made everyone's jaw drop. Dull went viral after dropping a music video where he pulled up to an enemy's grave with a shovel in hand, mocking how there wasn't even a proper headstone and bragging about what he claimed he had done. Fans couldn't believe what they were watching. It was shocking, bold, and reckless all at once. The footage that hit the internet was unreal.
Neighbors described the scene as like the Wild West. It was multiple people that were armed, and so it was members in the crowd shooting back and members from the vehicle shooting into the crowds.
This is really, really dangerous to have, you know, a Wild Wild West shootout in a residential neighborhood.
YBC Dull was right there in a cemetery, shovel in hand, digging at the burial site of his late rival, Rain's Boy, like it was some kind of twisted joke. His whole crew surrounded him, laughing and filming the moment like it was entertainment. That wasn't just disrespect, that was full-on desecration. Cameras rolling, people cheering. It looked more like a music video than a crime scene.
When JoJo gets killed, I remember Chief Keef went on Twitter and kind of like laughed at it and stuff like that. I remember you saying, oh, he tried to be us and now look at him or something.
Yeah.
How'd that make you feel when you saw that?
When Dull later sat down for interviews, he didn't hold back or try to clean up his image. He showed zero remorse. He called himself Mr. Disrespectful and wore that title proudly like it was part of his brand.
Keith he wasn't really nobody like in the streets, so it ain't really making me feel no type of way. Yeah, he was a goofy in the streets.
He even admitted he might have gone a little overboard, but then brushed it off saying that's just how the streets work. To him, it was all part of the game. Wild behavior for attention, fame, and fear. But karma moves quick, and for Dull, it hit harder than anyone expected. In August 2024, just months after his viral stunt, he was caught in a drive-by and took multiple shots to the chest. At only 25 years old, the man who made a career out of mocking the dead became another name in that same tragic cycle.
You know, I remember after Chief Keef blew up, he moved out of Chicago. And you didn't really see him back until recently when he did that big concert.
Yeah.
And I personally think that was smart.
The same streets he taunted came back for him, fast and unforgiving. And that's not all. This pattern of revenge and loss has been tearing through Philly's drill scene for years, with nearly a dozen YBC members losing their lives. It's like every victory turns into another tragedy. Then you got similar chaos in Jacksonville, with Yungeen Ace and Julio Fulio's beef turning into one of the deadliest rivalries in drill history. What started way back in 2017 spiraled into an all-out war that took real lives, including Ace's own brother Trayvon Bullard and two of his close friends. The pain in these stories shows how deep the violence really runs.
I think if Keef had stayed in Chicago, I don't think he'd still be around. At the level that he was functioning, at the way he was dissing people and how hugely popular he was, I don't think he'd be around.
Back in 2018, Youngin Ace barely escaped with his life after getting hit 8 times in a drive-by that took some of his closest people. That kind of pain doesn't just fade, it shapes how someone moves forever. So when Julio Fulio was shot and killed on his 26th birthday in June 2024, everyone knew Ace wouldn't stay silent. But nobody expected the level of disrespect that was coming next. Within just hours of news breaking about Fulio's death, Ace dropped a full-on diss track titled "Do It," mocking his rival before the man's family even had time to process what happened. The timing had the whole internet in shock. Even fans who were used to wild drill beefs couldn't believe it. It wasn't just quick, it was cold-blooded. Ace clearly had everything planned out. The song recorded, the video shot, and the rollout ready to go. He didn't even hesitate. The second the story hit social media, boom, the track was live. That kind of move wasn't random, it was premeditated disrespect, straight up. People started asking if this was still rap beef or if it had turned into something darker. And Ace didn't stop there. In the days that followed, him and his crew, ATK, Ace's top killers, started trolling Fulio's actual funeral online. They were posting memes about the doves released at the service and laughing at pictures from the memorial like it was a game. That took things to a level nobody expected, making fun of a family's pain while they were still grieving. Even in a genre built on toughness, that moment left a lot of people stunned and questioning how far this drill culture was willing to go. The diss track went absolutely crazy online. Within just 24 hours, reports said Youngin Ace's Fulio diss racked up more than 2.5 million views. That's wild.
You already know what it is, Mr. Disrespectful. I just tapped in with Meth Cuts and get you a disrespectful cut.
But that's also the dark reality of drill culture today, where death isn't just tragedy anymore, it's content, it's views, it's clout. Every loss turns into a new post, a new track, a new viral moment, and that's what makes this whole thing so disturbing. When Julio Fulio was killed on his 26th birthday, his rivals didn't just celebrate quietly behind closed doors, they turned the situation into a public campaign of mockery.
My goal in 5 years is to be like somewhere like wealthy, somewhere chilling, feel me? Have my family straight. But if that don't happen, I'm gonna be somewhere out here shooting or dead or in jail. And that's what it's gonna be.
From social media posts to edited memes, they wanted the whole world to see how ruthless they could be. The disrespect didn't stop online either. It carried all the way to Fulio's funeral, where people were still making jokes while his loved ones tried to say goodbye. But then came the strangest twist yet. Julio's own Instagram kept posting updates after his death, like he was still alive. Fans were totally confused, wondering if someone had hacked the account or if his team was running it for publicity. Whatever it was, it turned an already tragic story into one of the weirdest moments in drill beef history.
I wish I had mine. Bro, I don't give a fuck about doing this shit right here, bro.
Oh, what up, bro?
I just do this shit now because it's like, if I don't do this shit, bro, I'm gonna be a nut-ass nigga if I don't make it out the hood. Like, if I don't get successful, bro, and get rich, bro, I'm gonna feel like I'm a nut-ass nigga, and I'm gonna feel like I failed on my own.
Meanwhile, Ace's ATK affiliates, especially Fulio's longtime rival Fallout Sosa, started uploading videos, memes, and even pictures from the memorial, straight up clowning the whole thing.
Yo, they said I'm the most hated rapper in the city, right? Like, when Quilly said feet on land, like, I'm feet on the land. Like, my feet is on the earth. Who that? They busting the Yui, too.
I feel like half your ops aren't outside. They're in a virtual reality.
None of my fucking, bro. They would go kill this shit out one of the niggas, bro.
The line between real life and entertainment was completely gone. The disrespect wasn't just coming from one side. Even at Julio Fulio's actual funeral, things took an unexpected turn. His family and close friends shocked everyone when they started rapping Youngin Ace's diss track, "When I See You," right there at the service, using Fulio's own version as a tribute and a way to fire shots back. They were flipping Ace's words against him, spitting bars about how Ace's brother and his homies had been taken out. It turned what should have been a goodbye into a full-on moment of retaliation.
Ain't no not to do no shit like this. I wish somebody, I'm sorry, Brandon Buckingham, bro. I wish you would go. I wish he would go try to walk around, try to do a vlog with like a Lowski the Reaper or One Mirror, bro. We gonna flame that joint, bro.
Do you feel like the public like doesn't understand some of the dissing in the rap music?
We diss differently, like.
Pure tension in the air. Meanwhile, Julio's Instagram kept adding fuel to the chaos. The account was still posting cryptic messages and even responding to comments asking if he was really gone. Fans started throwing out wild theories. Some swore he'd faked his death. Others said it was his team trying to keep his legacy alive. Either way, it had social media going crazy, with the engagement climbing like never before.
when you know what people be talking about and you be like, damn, like he just said that in the song. Like that's how I got my name for real. Cause if you get into detail about what I'm talking about, and it's like, damn, he just said that. I really run the streets. Like I don't go to the studio and rap and shit. Like, I be outside, bro. That's what I do.
Then rumors started spreading that Foolio's rivals were planning to film a music video at his gravesite, but they couldn't actually pull it off because Foolio wasn't buried underground. Instead, he was placed inside a wall crypt, which made it impossible to do the whole standing on the grave type disrespect that's become too common in drill culture.
But other rappers though, like from the city, on the stage where I'm at, like they don't be here no more. People really think I be in other states. Whole time I really be here.
You ever see yourself like moving out of Philadelphia for good or not really?
Yeah, wow, I ain't staying here. This is a dumbass place to stay.
Still, the fact that people were even talking about it showed how far the madness had gone. The trolling, the funeral performances, the fake outpost, all of it showed that in this era, beef doesn't end at the grave. It just keeps going online, on camera, and through every post that gets shared. And it wasn't just Foolio's camp dealing with this kind of drama. Look at FBG Cash. Sometimes the most disrespectful moves aren't the loudest. Sometimes it's a single photo that says everything. Back in early 2022, just months after King Von lost his life in Atlanta, FBG Cash pulled up to Von's memorial mural in Chicago, and what happened next had the streets talking nonstop. When FBG Cash threw up his middle finger in front of King Von's mural and posted that picture with the caption, "Whole world witnessed humane sniper get his stuff blasted," the internet exploded. That flick spread faster than wildfire. One photo, one post, and suddenly everyone was talking. Here was a member of the Flyboy gang, the same crew that FBG Duck came from before he was tragically killed back in 2020, openly disrespecting Von at the spot meant to honor him. It wasn't just a diss, it was a direct challenge to everything O-Block stood for. That move sent a message loud and clear. The war between FBG and O-Block wasn't over, not even after death. It was bold, reckless, and dangerous, and the streets felt the tension immediately. You could practically feel the temperature rise after that post hit social media. Lil Durk, who was one of Von's closest friends, didn't stay silent either. He fired back on his track Computer Murderers with the line, "Sneaking pics by Von mural like Lil Bro won't come out and spin." That bar wasn't just music, it was a warning, plain and simple. Everyone understood what that meant, and it made the situation even more volatile. But FBG Cash didn't back down. Instead of cooling off, he doubled down, still dropping tracks like Back Again 2 times, mocking Von's death, and even taking shots at Durk's late brother, D-Thang. It was like he wanted to prove he wasn't scared of anything or anyone. His confidence came off like pure defiance, almost as if he was daring somebody to respond. Then, just a few months later, in June 2022, everything caught up to him. After only 3 months since that mural picture went viral, FBG Cash was fatally shot in Chicago. Nobody's been charged officially, and police haven't tied the killing directly to the mural situation. But the streets already decided how they saw it. The timing, the tension, and the non-stop disrespect made it impossible to ignore. Whether or not that single photo was the reason behind his death, it remains one of the most infamous and dangerous moments in drill history, proof of how a single post can ignite a fire that nobody can put out. Sometimes it only takes one single act of disrespect to change everything, and for some, it's the move that seals their fate. That's exactly what happened when Bronx drill rapper J5 took things to a whole new level nobody saw coming. Most rappers keep their disses confined to lyrics or social media stories, but J5, he brought that energy somewhere way darker, straight to the graveyard. Instead of just dropping bars about his rivals, this man literally pulled up to their actual graves, camera rolling, and filmed himself mocking them right there in the cemetery. It was shocking. The video spread like wildfire across social media, leaving even the most hardened drill fans speechless. J5, who rolls with the sweeper crew, didn't stop at 1 or 2 names either. Reports say he dissed over 50 of his late rivals while standing at their real headstones. The footage showed him walking through the cemetery, pointing at graves and laughing at the names carved in stone like they could somehow hear him from beyond. It was beyond taunting. It was straight up eerie. Fans couldn't believe how far the disrespect had gone. People online called it a graveyard tour, and even those who thought they'd seen everything in drill were stunned. The clips blew up instantly, sparking heated debates about whether this was still music or something much darker. J5 was part of the new wave of Bronx drill, a sound that had exploded with producers flipping old school funk, soul, and pop samples into heavy modern beats. But while the beats were creative, the lyrics and antics kept pushing the limits, turning what started as a musical movement into a world where clout and chaos seemed to mix too easily. The graveyard videos became a perfect example of how far drill's shock factor had gone, and how real the consequences could get when disrespect turns deadly. While the sound of Bronx drill kept evolving with flashy samples and crazy beats, the level of disrespect was sinking to unbelievable lows. What made J5's behavior stand out wasn't just what he did, it was how far he took it. This wasn't about one beef, one song, or one rival. This was a full-blown campaign of disrespect aimed at dozens of people who couldn't even defend themselves anymore. Every single headstone became another prop for his videos, another moment for the internet to eat up. He wasn't looking for peace or even bragging rights. He was chasing content, plain and simple. The more outrageous he got, the more clicks and views came in. Fans who loved the chaos kept hyping it up, while critics called it one of the lowest points drill music had ever reached. It had people asking, are there even any limits left? For J5 though, those limits were long gone. To him, there was no such thing as too far. The more people told him to chill, the more he doubled down, proving that in this era of viral beefs, disrespect had become its own currency. But J5 wasn't the first to push things to the edge. The roots of this kind of madness go way back to Chicago's drill scene, where real-life violence and music collided long before social media made everything instant. When it comes to funeral disrespect, there's one story that still stands out above all the rest, and it's tied to none other than King Von. What allegedly went down on October 22nd, 2018, changed drill culture forever. It showed everyone that in Chicago's gang world, nothing was sacred anymore, not even funerals. So picture this, it's the day of the funeral for Trez Chris, better known in the streets as Dusky Thawman, a respected STL affiliate and rapper in his own right. The service is being held at the Bethlehem Star Missionary Baptist Church in Chicago's Burnside neighborhood. The scene is emotional. Family crying, friends showing love, people paying their respects, everything calm and respectful, until the atmosphere shifts completely. And who's in attendance? FBG, Wookie, Marvel Williams, one of the most dangerous and vocal enemies of Vizo Block crew. Now here's where it gets absolutely crazy. Word on the street is that Von and his boy EOG had allegedly FaceTimed Wookie the day before the funeral, telling him they had a surprise for him. Bro, that surprise came in the form of hot lead. Witnesses say they heard damn near 40 shots ring out as 6 people got hit in the mass shooting, including Wookie, who took a bullet straight to the dome. By some miracle, the home, he survived, but he was never the same after that. His whole career, his whole life changed forever because of that day. The feds questioned Vaughn that very same day, but they couldn't pin nothing on him, and he was never charged. This was all part of the ongoing war between O-Block's Black disciples and Took a VSTL's gangster disciples, a beef that had already stacked bodies on both sides for years. Bro, think about the audacity of that move, pulling up to a church fam where people are saying goodbye to their loved one and letting them things fly. That's a different type of demon timing. It wasn't just an attack on Wookie, it was a message to everybody that said there ain't no safe zone. No truces, not even when you're trying to bury your man's. Vaughn ended up getting smoked himself in November 2020 outside an Atlanta hookah lounge. But what allegedly happened that October day at that Baptist church? What happened next is still remembered as one of the most savage moments in drill history. No question about it. The streets will never forget how wild things got between Chicago's Bloodhound crew and their rivals from Trap City. Their war had already taken plenty of lives, but by late 2024, the violence hit a level that had even longtime followers of the scene in disbelief. It all started when Bloodhound Lil Jeff, a Chicago drill rapper who the streets claimed had ties to multiple shootings, was killed in June 2024 during a gunfight in Woodlawn. His name carried weight in the city, and his death immediately lit a spark that everyone knew was about to turn into something ugly. Soon after Trap City Vale, one of Jeff's biggest rivals, jumped online and started mocking his death all over social media. He posted memes, captions, and clips laughing about what happened like it was just another day in the beef. The disrespect was loud, public, and cold, but karma was watching closely. Just a few months later, in October 2024, Vale himself was killed, reportedly by Bloodhound affiliates seeking revenge. The back and forth bloodshed seemed never ending, but the most chilling part came next. In November 2024, during Vale's own funeral repast, tragedy struck again. Gunmen showed up and opened fire on the crowd. Innocent people were caught in the chaos, and among those hit was Vale's sister, Ra Turner, who tragically lost her life right there at her brother's memorial gathering. It was heartbreaking and horrifying, and a place meant for mourning turned into another crime scene. Imagine that. pulling up to a funeral, a space that even the toughest gang members used to respect as off-limits, and unleashing violence there. It left the whole community shaken. This wasn't about drill music anymore. This was about how deep and deadly these feuds had become, where even family and sacred spaces weren't safe from the cycle of retaliation. At this point, the violence wasn't just about rival crews anymore. It was about families catching stray bullets, funerals turning into war zones, and nothing staying sacred. The ongoing war between Bloodhound Crew and Trap City showed that the line between street beef and all-out chaos had completely vanished. Every new loss brought more retaliation, and every retaliation hit harder than the last. It was like the rules of engagement didn't exist anymore and nobody was off limits. But Chicago wasn't the only city dealing with this level of madness. Detroit was right there too, caught in its own spiral of violence. The crew known as TNO had already earned a reputation for being ruthless, but what happened in August 2025 left even the toughest people in shock. Police arrived at the scene of a shooting that erupted during a funeral repast, and what they found was terrifying. 129 shell casings scattered across the ground. One man was dead, and 2 women were wounded after the bullets started flying. A place meant for healing and remembrance had turned into a battlefield in seconds. The repast was being held for 22-year-old Dion 56 Davis, a well-known figure from Detroit's 700 gang who had been killed just days before. In the streets, 56 had built a name for himself and a lot of enemies through his music and his lifestyle. Back in 2021, he was even hit with federal charges after hopping on Instagram Live and showing off a modified weapon while talking reckless about his rivals. That clip had already made him a target long before his death. So when mourners came together to say goodbye to 56, it didn't take long before enemies allegedly pulled up to give him one final act of disrespect, turning what should have been a moment of peace into yet another deadly headline. According to witnesses, the scene outside that funeral repast turned into pure chaos. A burgundy Chrysler 300 reportedly pulled up slow, scoped out the crowd, and then suddenly opened fire with rifles. People were diving for cover, running in every direction as shots tore through the air. By the time the gunfire stopped, 26-year-old Daniel Avery, better known as Band Gang Boom, was gone. He was a father of 5 and a respected member of the Band Gang Rap Collective, a crew that had been putting on for Detroit since 2014. What made it even worse was that this wasn't just a targeted hit, it became a full-blown shootout. Folks at the funeral were armed too, and when the bullets started flying, they fired back. In just minutes, 5 different houses on that block got sprayed with gunfire. The scene was insane. Sirens everywhere, people crying, chaos on every corner. The level of violence was off the charts. And it didn't stop there. The very next day, another tragedy almost struck when Lil Mello, a rapper affiliated with Detroit's 700 gang, was shot in the face and chest while driving on the freeway. Miraculously, he survived. But the message behind all this was impossible to ignore. If you show up to a killer's funeral, you're putting a target on your own back. By this point, it was clear that funerals weren't safe anymore. They'd become just another front line in street wars that seemed endless. And crazy as it sounds, all this chaos has roots that go way back. Before King Von, before YBC Dull, before any of these newer examples of disrespect. To understand where it all began, you've got to go back to 2012, when a young Chicago rapper named Chief Keef and his rival Lil Jojo set the tone for everything that came after. Their feud basically wrote the drill culture playbook, the blueprint for this dangerous mix of music and street beef. Lil Jojo, whose real name was Joseph Coleman, dropped a track called 300K directly dissing Chief Keef and his crew. It was raw, bold, and it hit the streets hard. But things took a dark turn on September 4th, 2012, when Jojo was riding on the back pegs of his friend's bike in Inglewood and got shot in a drive-by. What Chief Keef did just hours after Jojo's death became one of the most infamous moments in drill history, something people still talk about over a decade later. After Lil Jojo's death, Chief Keef jumped online and did something that stunned the whole internet. He hopped on Twitter and posted, "Ha ha 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 ha. It's sad cause Jojo wanted to be just like us ever, LMAO." Literally laughing about a teenager who had just lost his life. That one post spread like wildfire, and fans couldn't believe what they were seeing. The timing, the tone, everything about it screamed pure disrespect. When reporters later asked Keef about it, he brushed it off coldly, saying he wasn't really nobody in the streets, so it ain't really making me feel no type of way. Yeah, he was a goofy in the streets. That line right there made things explode even more. Soon after, Keef tried to backtrack, claiming his account had been hacked, but the damage was already done. The post didn't just stir up outrage online. It caught the attention of Chicago PD, who started looking into Keef's possible connections to JoJo's murder. Detectives began digging into his gang ties and his social media behavior, trying to see if he had any involvement, but in the end, no charges were ever filed against him. Still, People in the city were talking heavy, and word spread fast that shots had been fired outside JoJo's funeral, allegedly by people linked to Keef's side, trying to send a message to mourners that the feud wasn't over. Keef wasn't there himself, but if the rumors were true, his crew made sure their presence was felt loud and clear. The whole situation between Chief Keef and Lil JoJo basically set the blueprint for how disrespect and drill would evolve. The online trolling, the mocking of the dead, and the total disregard for grieving families. It turned pain into publicity and tragedy into content. Some fans even believe Keef later referenced JoJo's death in his breakout hit Love Sosa, with that cold bar about riding on Lil Steve. Whether it was direct or not, the influence of that early beef shaped the entire wave of drill culture that followed, where clout, disrespect, and danger became almost impossible to separate. That Chicago beef might be more than a decade old, but its influence on drill culture today is still massive. It basically set the tone for how rappers handle loss. Not with mourning, but with mockery, turning tragedy into trend material. And nowhere has that impact been more visible than in New York's Bronx drill scene, where crews like OY, OGZ, Drillies, and SEB Side have been locked in non-stop rivalries that keep claiming lives way too young. One of the most chilling examples came from rapper Use Jeez, who earned a reputation for cold-blooded social media posts that shocked even people used to drill beefs. When 18-year-old Jaquan McKinley, an up-and-coming Bronx rapper better known as C.He Vutz, was ambushed and killed outside a Brooklyn recording studio in February 2022, the streets went quiet for a second, but not for long. Within hours of his death, his rivals were already online celebrating. Use Jeezy posted on his Instagram story, and another one bites the dust. That one sentence turned into one of the most viral moments in Bronx drill history. The clip got featured in diss compilations alongside other rappers like Shaw EK and Lee Drilly, who also threw shade after McKinley's passing. What should have been a tragedy turned into content, views, comments, reactions, like it was entertainment instead of a real-life loss. The murder of C.He Vutz became a major spark in the national debate about drill music and violence. Even NYC Mayor Eric Adams stepped in, publicly calling out drill culture for fueling gang tension and pushing social media companies to start taking down violent music videos. For the first time, politicians were treating drill not just as music, but as a public safety issue. What made Jaquan's death hit even harder was how much potential he had. He was just 18, a kid with real basketball talent and dreams of making it big in rap. People who knew him said he was trying to rise above the violence. Even his last messages to his girlfriend showed him struggling with guilt and fear, asking deep questions about his life and choices. By 2024, investigators had charged Paul P.J. Gizzy Johnson, a member of the Bronx-based Original Goons OGZ, with McKinley's murder. His arrest didn't bring peace, though. It just kept the cycle spinning. Each loss becomes another diss, another post, another reminder of how drill's dark side keeps feeding off real lives and real pain. The federal indictment later revealed that Jaquan McKinley's killing wasn't just a random act, it was part of a much bigger web of gang violence gripping the Bronx. What seemed like isolated beefs were really all pieces of the same story, one where disrespect online could lead to real bloodshed in the streets. For rappers like Use G's and others who laughed about McKinley's death on social media, those posts weren't just jokes. They were part of the constant online warfare that's become impossible to separate from Bronx drill. Every post, every diss, every emoji gets treated like another round fired in a never-ending battle for clout. But for McKinley's family and friends, those same posts were devastating. Instead of sympathy or silence, they had to watch people celebrate his death like it was an achievement. That's the dark truth about drill today. In this world, death doesn't bring peace or respect anymore. It brings celebration from your enemies and more pain for the people left behind. And sadly, that pain keeps spreading. King Von got killed, FBG Cash got killed, YBC Dull got killed, Julio Fulio got killed, Band Gang Boom got killed. The list just keeps growing, and behind every name that makes the headlines, there are dozens of others who never get mentioned. Young lives lost too soon, all wrapped up in a cycle that never seems to stop. Maybe one day the culture will change. Maybe funerals will go back to being sacred, safe spaces again, places where families can grieve without fear. But until that day comes, these stories stand as a harsh reminder of how far things have fallen and how much still needs to be fixed before peace ever stands a chance. Thank you for tuning in. If you like this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe, and click one of the videos on your screen to check out more wild stories from the world of hip-hop and drill culture.